In today's tutorial, I'm going to teach you how to make your very own planner tabs and planner inserts with repurposed plastic folders and the help of your Cricut machine. You can find more information about how to access all of the templates and designs you see me using here in this tutorial linked below this video, or you can have fun and create your own in Cricut Design Space. Let's go ahead and cover the supplies you're going to need for this project next, and then dive into this tutorial. So of course you're going to need to have a plastic folder. Just the simple ones are best. You do not have to get anything super fancy. In fact, I don't recommend that. I like the thin, flexible ones. You can pick some up at like the dollar store. You can get a bunch of them on Amazon, Target, all those places. Pick them up in your favorite colors. Even if you find some that have pretty prints on them, that's a great option as well. I'm going to be working with solids here, and then showing you some other cute ways you can personalize them if you wish to. So definitely get those plastic folders for this project. You'll also need to have a cutting machine. So I'm using the Cricut Maker 3 here, but you could use any of the Explore machines, the original Maker. You can use the Cricut Joy so long as it's within the size limitations. So for example, these planner tabs here that we're using as little bookmarks, these can be cut out on the Cricut Joy just fine because their size is perfect for the Joy. These full sheets here, if you decide to do these more full-size planner inserts here, then unless you have a mini planner, you probably are going to need to have a full-size machine for this, okay? So just take note of that with the type of machine you have. You are going to need a pair of scissors to be able to cut down the folder. So we're going to be cutting the folder apart to be able to place it onto our mat. I'm going to be using a strong grip mat. I have used the standard grip green mat, but after several tests of this, I found the strong grip performed better overall with this plastic material. So if you can't, I do recommend the strong grip. A brayer tool can be helpful for getting that plastic material to really stick to the mat and hold really strongly to the mat so that as it's cutting through that plastic material, because we have 4 passes to go through, you don't want anything lifting. So a brayer tool can be really helpful for that. It is optional, but I do like to use it. And then of course, the only other thing you're going to need is your planner. And let's go ahead and get started cutting these out. Okay, my friends, so we're just going to go over a few pointers here in Design Space. Mainly, I want to teach you how to create your own custom material setting, which is an excellent skill to have. All right, so here I am in Cricut Design Space. This is my canvas, okay? So I've toggled over to canvas. You're going to locate the upload button that's going to be in this design panel over here. Then you're going to go ahead and click on Upload Image, and wherever you have saved the download, so if you're using My Download, if you saved it to a specific folder on your computer or a downloads file, or you're working from a mobile device and you saved it into a folder there, you're going to want to locate that and then drag or drop it here, or click Browse to browse your file finder and bring in the file. So for me, I'm just going to use this one and I'm going to drag and drop it over, and we're going to get a preview here. I'm going to click Continue. And then I'm going to click Upload. On this screen here, if you want to give it a different name, you're welcome to. I usually just continue on with the prompts. And it's going to drop it right here onto the Design Space canvas. So at this point here, there is really nothing else you need to do unless you wish to resize. So if you do wish to resize, you want to right click and ungroup first and assess the size of these. So these are a little under 5 inches, which is about perfect for what I need for my planner. But if you have a planner that's much bigger or a little bit smaller, you may want to consider scaling these up or down. Same thing with these dividers here. Depending on the size of your planner, you may want to scale them up or down. I will caution that if you are someone who has a maybe very small planner that's smaller than, say, your traditional like happy planner size, then you may want to consider not going too small. If you go much smaller than about 3.5 inches on these bookmarks, then your cuts for the words and the letters here are going to probably potentially be a little bit off. They're not going to be as clean as we would like. So just a little side note for you there. Now let's go ahead and head over to the cut screen because I want to show you how to create your own custom material setting in this example here. So I'm using the Maker 3, but you can use the Explore, but we're only using the fine point blade here, which works with all the models. So I'm going to be cutting on a mat. I do recommend having the strong grip mat in this case. So here is a preview of our mats. I'm going to go ahead and click Continue here and connect to my cutting machine. For me, that's going to be the Maker 3. So once I've connected to my machine, I'm going to be asked to select a base material here. So you're going to click on Browse All Materials, and then I want you to locate this little button option here that says Material Settings, okay? So click on Material Settings, and you want to scroll all the way down past all of these settings, and you want to look for Add New Material. So I'm going to click on Add New Material, and we're going to give our new custom material a name. So I'm going to call this Plastic Folder, and we're going to click Save. It's going to jump us up. It's going to place it in alphabetical order here. So it's going to jump us up to that spot where it fits in the alphabetical order of all these materials. And now we're going to set our pressure. So this here, your numerical value right here, is going to be your pressure, how much pressure the machine is putting with the blade onto the material itself. We want to set this to about 315. That's been the setting that I find that works the best. So I'm going to up this to 315, and you can use these little plus and minus here to get exact values if you need to fine tune that. This option here is for multi-cut. In other words, the number of passes or the number of times the blade will go over the material. So in this case, most of the time it's 1, right? But in this case, we want to actually go over it 4 times so that it successfully cuts through that plastic folder material. So I have found that 315 on the pressure and 4 passes with the fine point blade, you'll leave that as a default, is the best result for your traditional plastic folder. Now, if you're using a plastic folder that's maybe a little bit thinner or potentially a little bit thicker, you may need to play around with this a bit. I recommend doing potentially a small test cut just to see what your results are before you get into too deep with your project, okay? So always test. I'm gonna go ahead and click Save now. And we're gonna see here that our plastic folder setting has been saved with our pressure and our passes. Okay, so now we can just come down here and click Done. And if we go back into Browse All Materials and we want to actually select a material now to get this cut out, we can just search for our custom material, which is right here, plastic folder. If you want to bookmark it, because maybe you're making a lot of them and you want it handy on that home screen, you can bookmark that as well. I'm going to select it and hit Done. You'll be able to find the plastic material under your bookmarked if you did choose to do that, and then that way you'll be able to access it faster. It'll also note that it is My Materials, as in this is custom. Okay, so I've selected that. One last thing I want to bring to your attention here is this pressure setting. If you got this setting set up and you did a test cut and everything looks pretty good, but maybe there's just a few sticky points on your plastic folder, like maybe a couple of the edges didn't cut completely through, it was really close, but just not quite, then you may want to play with the pressure default. So it's going to default to the pressure that we set at 315. But if you want to just slightly increase the pressure, you can select more. And that may be the only tweak you need to fine tune for best results when it comes to cutting out your plastic folders. So let's go ahead and get these cut out. All right, so first thing, I'm gonna get my plastic folders cut down here. So I have this full-size folder here, and what I like to do is I'll open it up and I'll just cut right along the inner seam there. It can be a little tricky, but take your time with it. So I'm just using a pair of scissors to cut the folder. It should cut relatively easily. Now, you could use paper folders with this if you wanted to. I personally have not tested it. In theory, there is no reason you can't. However, I do like the plastic because it's like water resistant, it'll last longer, it won't bend out of shape. But get creative if you want to try paper or something like that. You definitely could try like a heavy paper folder or a heavy cardstock and still make these as well. So once you get to this point, you have the pocket here. For most of these folders, it's very easy to just pull it with your fingers and it'll rip right apart. And then I cut this part down here. If you want to be really frugal, you could save this piece and then cut a couple of tabs out on that. I usually just work with the full sheet over here. All right, there we go. And now we're going to place this onto our mat. So I like to go with the smooth corner, the side I did not cut, so it's a nice straight edge. And we're just going to place that down. I'm going to use my brayer tool here to push the plastic folder to the mat. Okay. So one other thing that's really important to note before you cut your plastic folder material out is if your fine point blade is rather worn, and dull, or you've had it for a long time, you may need to consider putting a fresh blade in first. Cutting through these plastic folders does put quite a bit of wear and tear on the blade, and it does need to be rather on the sharp side to get that good clean cut, or you may have to do additional passes. So I've been testing a lot of these folders lately, and my blade now needs changed. So I just removed it from clamp B here, and I'm gonna push that little button at the top, and then I'm gonna pull the blade out. I'm using my fingers, but please be careful if you're doing this. I'm very used to it. You may wanna use a pair of like the Cricut tweezers to pull the blade out. Set the dull blade aside, and you can find these multi-packs of Cricut blades on Amazon, or just find the main replacement blades also on the Cricut website. And when you get your new blade, it'll have a little plastic cap on it that you'll want to pull off carefully. And then again, push that button at the top of the housing and the new blade drop in there. There we go. And then to dispose of your old blade, take that plastic cap that you just took off and put it back over the old blade, because it still is sharp and can hurt you if you stick your finger in it, and then throw it away. So I have a fresh blade in there, so that's just something important to note when you're working with these plastic folder materials. I'm gonna put that back into clamp B, and then we're gonna load our mat. So pressing our mat against the rollers and pressing that double arrow flashing button, we have the plastic folder material selected in Design Space. It's going to load our mat and measure it to make sure we've loaded the correct mat, the correct length, and that we have the correct blade also placed into clamp B. Once it measures the mat, you'll see a flashing play icon, or it might look like a Cricut C icon. Go ahead and press that to proceed with the cut. Okay, so once the cut is done, you're gonna press the double arrow flashing button to unload your mat. I just did a couple here, but you could of course fill your sheet up completely, which is what I would recommend to maximize your material. You're gonna flip the mat over and then peel the mat away from the material. Now with the plastic folder material, even if you have a brand new blade and you've done everything right with the settings, you usually still have to whittle it out a little bit. It's just the nature of dealing with that plastic thicker material. It just needs a little extra help. It kind of feels like you're punching out a template, like it's been perforated almost, and you just gotta work with it for a second to get it to release. Okay, there we go. So there is one of those little tabs. This is the today one, but we've got Monday through Sunday, and we've got some other ones as well. So that's how easy it is to make one of those little tabs. And you can see you wouldn't want to go too much smaller because things would be a little too intricate here to handle with that plastic folder material. Let's go ahead and show you what one of the full-size sheets looks like, and I'll also show you my additional trick in case it doesn't cut all the way through, what you can do so that you don't have to restart your cut. So one good rule of thumb when you're cutting this plastic folder material, especially if it's your first time doing it and you're not sure if maybe your setting's working right, or your blade's fresh enough, all of that good stuff, before you unload your Cricut mat, when the cut is done, you can come to this corner here and you can peel it back to see if it cut all the way through. So I can tell with mine that it did cut all the way through on a majority of it. Now, if you do want to do another pass, meaning going over it one more time and you're not sure or confident that it went all the way through the material, you can go ahead and not press the double arrow flashing button, but press that play icon or that Cricut C icon again, and it will go over it again. So I'm going to do that here because I feel like there's some spots that it could have gone through a little bit better, and I'm going to press that play icon again, or that Cricut C icon. It's going to take a second to acknowledge that we've done that and check that we have the right blade again, and then it'll go over it again. Okay, so at this point, because we pressed that button to go again, it's actually going to do the full 4 passes again. I only wanted it to do one additional time around, so just take note when it starts to go through it a second time. You can hit that pause button. It'll take the machine a second to actually pause. There it goes. And then we can kind of lift up where we're at, and we can see here that it's already coming through a lot better than it was. I'm not even needing to punch with my fingers. So now I'm just going to press that flashing double arrow button, and we'll unload the whole cut. Okay, so there's the full insert piece. That turned out nice and well. Everything cut really well on there. This one's measured for the more classic traditional size for the Happy Planner. So let's maybe just put this one towards the back. We have like a notes section in the back of our planner. So let's say I want to put this divider right here. We can just, if you're familiar with planners at all, you know this very well. Popping those in there, right along that spine. And there we go, we've added our divider and it moves back and forth just like our pages do. And it sticks out here as sort of a little tab and tells us exactly what we're looking for. And then the same thing for our little bookmark tabs that we created. So let's say we want to mark these according to the day of the week, or if we want to mark it, say, notes, ideas, goals, or the month, anything like that, we can just slip it right over. And then when we close our binder, and I got a lot of them in here already, you'll be able to easily just grab at those tabs and flip to that section. And then you can kind of offset them here if you kind of want that rainbow fun color effect. So these are a lot of fun to do, and it adds a nice touch to your planner, but it also creates a fun way to organize to where you can find things a lot quicker. Okay, so that's how easy it is to make these tabs and inserts for your planners. You can place them along the top, you can place them along the sides. I have several here. They say things like goals, ideas, notes, this month, and then I have days of the week, but I also have months, all 12 months of the year, because I know a lot of planners are set up to where it's just broken down by month. So no matter which you choose to use, depending on what kind of planner you have and what your setup is, you should be able to find these tabs and these inserts that will work for you. Make sure you check out the links below this video. You're going to have all of your information below as far as where to get these exact templates and SVG files I'm showing you here. I hope you enjoyed this video, and make sure you come and follow me over on Abbi Kirsten Collections if you want more tutorials for learning how to master and enjoy your Cricut machine. I'll see you there. Thanks so much for watching, and bye for now.